squatted buildings confiscated from the Mafia, giving beds to hundreds of immigrants and destitute Italians. The Cosenza ultras had opened a food bank for the poor and created Italy's first play park for disabled children. One of the most influential fans in the Curva was a Franciscan friar. In an era when so many terraces find inspiration in fascism, Cosenza remains devoutly anti-fascist. If anyone was looking for a place to find a counterbalance to the ultra stereotype, Cosenza was clearly it. The more I went back, the more I felt that the city was an expression of the idealistic origins of the movement back in the late 1960s and early 1970s. It was playful, charitable, chaotic, and spectacular. I often met Donata Bergamini, the sister of a Cosenza midfielder murdered in 1989, on the terraces. 30 years after his death, she would be there, in the rain, with the ultras, supporting a team 1,000 kilometres from her home near Ferrara. "I feel truly bad," she told me, "when I'm far from the city and its red-blue colours." And because Cosenza is a team that has never enjoyed much footballing or financial glory, it has bounced between the lower divisions of Serie D, C and B, going bust now and again, it doesn't draw fans from across the country, let alone the globe. There's no money to be made. Cosenza's fans are decidedly local, and therefore offer a far better insight into the rootedness, even poverty, of the ultras than do fans of far more decorated teams. Ultras are implacably opposed to the robed dignitaries of modern football, and there was nowhere, I felt, more gloriously ragged than Cosenza. I've concentrated on other teams and cities for reasons that will, hopefully, become obvious. One draw has, strangely, been grief. Passion is an integral part of fandom, but much more so, in its original sense, of suffering. When human tragedies far surpass, while still reflecting sporting ones, the ultra's role becomes sacred, tending the memories of lives lost and mourned. Another reason I've been drawn to certain places was a hypothesis, possibly absurd, that ultra groups reflect their topography. So the more beguiling a city, like Genova or Catania, the more curious I was about their crews. I've been drawn to cities like Rome, where there are local rivalries on the asphalt as much as there are on the grass, but I'm aware that many other famous groups, from Fiorentina, Napoli, Atalanta and elsewhere, are underrepresented, and I wouldn't pretend that these pages are anything like exhaustive. Research has been skewed by my personal interests. Clubs with English and Welsh links, a capo ultra with distant Hollywood connections, places with the best songs, supporters with the most unlikely youngs. On the long journey south to Cosenza, I've often been led astray. But I realise that I have also been drawn to ultra groups that help explain one of the most urgent topics of the early 21st century: the resurgence of far-right extremism. The ultras offer a unique vantage point to understand how and why fascism has re-emerged into the mainstream. As you go back through the years, it becomes obvious how hard certain ultras were rubbing the lamp before the genie reappeared. In many ways, the ultras of certain clubs anticipated, by decades, the rhetoric, methods and ideologies that are now dominating political discourse in Italy and elsewhere. If occasionally I seem to go off topic, it's because fascist revivalism is a constant subplot informing and polluting the ultra world. There has also been a problem of veracity during research. All stories contain both richness and unreliability. I've often worried that the first evaporated in translation, then fretted that the second threatened truthfulness. The ultras have certain dates etched in their memory. Canaletta, drainpipe, has 338 tattooed on his forearm, the number of away games he's been to, along with 28/8/2016, the date of the match when Cosenza beat their local rivals, Catanzaro.